If you're visiting Jamaica and staying in a resort with a beautiful beach, chances are you're not thinking of the battle that is happening on an everyday basis, and it is the fight against plastic pollution.
My name is Irina, I live in Jamaica, and with this video we're going to look at how plastic pollution is affecting the island, what Jamaicans are doing to cope with this issue, and how we can all become the solution to the problem of Plastic Jamaica.
This video is sponsored by you. Thank you so much for the support.
Presenting the possibilities of plastics. Plastics help save you from dents and broken bones.
It helped protect my patella.
They help save energy.
Thin light plastics, fewer trucks, less gas.
They help save you from being scrambled.
In 1990s, giant manufacturers of plastic launched numerous ad campaigns showing how wonderful plastic really is.
And this vest helped save my dad's life.
Plastics make it possible.
Plastic is a global human-made catastrophe. Jamaica, being an island country, is among the most vulnerable places on Earth when it comes to plastic pollution. Over 2 million single-use plastic bottles, like these ones, are thrown away in Jamaica every single day.
2 million every day. And these are just produced locally. We'll also have the imported ones. And I'm talking about just bottles. What about all the other single-use plastic? Until 2019, we also had millions of bags, straws, and styrofoam food containers. And until today, we still have these in use. So the question we should all be asking, where does all this stuff go?
We've decided to find out more about the situation with plastic in Jamaica and drove all the way from Montego Bay to Church Corner in St.Thomas to meet the team at Recycling Partners of Jamaica.
What are these bottles? Where do they come from?
Well, the people of St.Thomas, they bring their used plastic bottles here, having separated at home PET and HDPE bottles from regular trash. They bring it here, and what we do inside the facility is we bale them, which means compress them into these large compressed cubes, and from here they are taken to Kingston and then sent off for recycling. My name is Dr.Damien King. I'm the chairman of the board of Recycling Partners of Jamaica. And Recycling Partners of Jamaica is the public-private entity that has been set up to try to manage the recycling process in Jamaica for plastic bottles. We have different levels and types of drop-off points. We have the large recycling depots, like here in St. Thomas where we are. Then we have the smaller redemption centers. At both of those, you can get paid for your plastic. Then we have large cages that we put at institutions like schools and churches and gas stations, where you can just simply deposit your bottles. Our trucks go around and collect those and take it to our recycling centers. We have contracts with private companies that set up their own redemption centers, and they do the collections, and then we pay them for their plastic bottles. And then finally, we have the plastic bins, where you can take 1 or 2 or 3 bottles at a time and get rid of it.
I'm Hugh Trout and I'm from licensed St. Thomas. And I'm a hydraulic baler at the plant. I love working with hydraulics, and it is very fun, and the camaraderie working with the team, and knowing that I'm a part of the process of putting plastic in its place. So it's very fun. Okay, so this is a YJ30 vertical hydraulic baler. So we start with loading the machine with PET bottles or HDPE bottles. After the machine is loaded, we then continue by compressing the bottles. So this machine, it takes a minimum of 150 pounds and up to a maximum of 300 pounds of HDPE bottles. So after the baling process is finished, we put cardboard on top and then wire it. And then we look over here.
Oh, sorry. These are the bales that come out of the machine. We separate the green from the white, the black different from the white, from the green, from the blue. So we do it in color code. Those are the sort out outside. They do it outside there and then they brought them into us. And after they brought them into us now, then we put them into the machine and do the processing for the shipment. My name is Daniel Walker. I am the supervisor inside of the casual area in the production of the warehouse. This is a baler that I personally operate. It is two of us inside here doing baling. He is one, I am one.
You might have heard about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch in the ocean. An area twice the size of Texas and 3 times the size of France. But there are actually 5 garbage patches in the oceans, and one of them is rather close to the Caribbean. Their location is not accidental. It corresponds to the large systems of circulating ocean currents, known as ocean gyres. Once plastic goes far enough from the coastline, it gets picked up by the ocean current and ends up being trapped in one of those garbage patches. And a lot of plastic doesn't float on top. It actually sinks to the bottom of the ocean, which makes it next to impossible to collect. However, the majority of recently produced plastic can be found within 100 miles of shorelines, and it's usually washed back on beaches or it sinks near coastlines.
There are many types of plastic. The bulk of the problem, though, is with PET, which we call type 1 plastic, and HDPE, which is type 2 plastic. If you look at all the plastic produced and discarded, the vast majority of it is type 1 and type 2. You can know this by turning over the container, whatever container it is, and on the bottom of it, inside a triangular recycling symbol, you will see the number. And that tells you whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. We are focused on type 1 and type 2 bottles because that is the majority of the problem. But the main objective is to not have the plastic go into the waste stream. Jamaica produces 800 million plastic bottles a year and rising. So we're going to get to 1 billion shortly. Some of it ends up on the beaches, some of it ends up in the sea and is ingested by the fish. So we have this big problem with plastic bottles. People toss them out, and then when the rains come, that washes the bottles into the rivers and into the gullies. And of course, some citizens toss it directly into the rivers and the gullies, but the rains take it out to the sea and it ends up on the beaches. And everything ends up on the beaches. I mean, occasionally I walk along the beaches and I do a content analysis and look at what kind of bottles are there. And you will see bottles from other countries. You will see plastic from Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And so when we, improperly dispose of our plastic, we're not only polluting our beaches, we're polluting beaches in other countries. We have to put a stop to this.
It's not only the big pieces of plastic we see that's the problem. An even bigger issue is when this plastic gets degraded and breaks down into microscopic particles, which pollutes everything, the whole ecosystem. It's the most dangerous plastic because we don't see it and it's impossible to collect. As a result, it ends up in our food chain.
No matter how healthy your life is, maybe you're vegan, maybe Rastafari, and you don't use plastic, but the reality is you live on this planet. And that means you consume up to 5 grams of plastic particles per week. It's about the size of this credit card. We eat it every week. This plastic gets into your body with water you drink and the food you eat, even if it's food from your backyard, or simply with the air you breathe. But here's the thing, the natural reaction for a lot of people when they learn about this is not to look for a solution or think, oh, what can I do to help? No. It's to look for someone to blame. Because it's so much easier, isn't it? Just do nothing and then, oh, what can I do? I'm just a human being. Let's blame the governments or these evil corporations that are making the profits from plastic. And you know who corporations blame for plastic they themselves produce? They shift the blame on you, the end consumer, for not disposing your plastic properly. Except that it's not really your plastic, is it? It's their plastic. See? We can shift the blame back on them. But the sad truth is, we are all responsible.
It goes beyond the issue with producing and disposing plastic. It's also about buying it in the first place. Why do we buy a fizzy drink in a plastic bottle? Are you prepared to pay extra for, say, a glass bottle? If we were not buying 800 million drinks in plastic bottles in Jamaica per year, they wouldn't be producing them, and vice versa. But it's not like people would suddenly stop drinking soft drinks or bottled water, and there is no proper affordable alternative for plastic yet either.
That is why I personally believe it makes no sense blaming others or feeling guilty for all this mess we humans created. Instead, I think we should just acknowledge the issue and take responsibility for it. It's up to us how successful the recycling process will be in Jamaica. The government should take care of their part, which is the legislation, and finding a way to influence the manufacturers, and they are doing it already. The manufacturers have to act responsibly and find the ways to collect their plastic back. And in Jamaica, they are doing it now. Well, who do you think the partners are in the Recycling Partners of Jamaica who are paying for all this?
The partners in Recycling Partners of Jamaica, it's principally a partnership between the government and the manufacturers of the products that come in plastic bottles. And all of the manufacturers of plastic bottles, of products that come in plastic bottles in Jamaica, are part of the partnership. It includes the largest ones, which is Pepsi Jamaica, Wisynco, Grace Kennedy, and Lasco Manufacturing.
Well, I need a pickup truck, but these are clean and nice plastics, so no harm is done to the car. I don't know if you remember. Hi, I'm sorry. heavy is it?
This one is 150 though.
Between 150 to 160 pounds?
Yeah.
Oh, how many bottles go into one of these? What do you think?
Almost 3,000.
3,000?
Maybe 3 of those bags.
Okay.
One bag contains sometimes 1,200 and such. So
Okay, so it's about 3,000 bottles goes into one of those.
maybe 3,200. Yeah.
Wow. So how many can you make per day?
We can make at least 10.
10 per day. About 10 per day, I see.
If we
With
have
one of these.
But yeah, 10 per day. If not much, then we can make 8 and or 7 or 6. And we do the you can see that the black ones are the boom bottles.
Yeah.
So we do them by themselves. Green.
Yes, green and thick plastic.
Like those
I see.
bottles and
Respect. All right, thank you so much. Nice to see you again. Bye bye.
Recycling Partners of Jamaica is trying to get those bottles out of the waste stream. So we have been established to take charge of that problem. We're doing it through 3 prongs, 3 legs. One is to make it convenient, to build out the infrastructure so that anybody who wants to recycle plastic bottles can get rid of it as easily as possible at the gas station on their way to work, or maybe at their workplace, or maybe in the complex in which they reside, or at the school, or at their church. It has to be easy and convenient for people to recycle plastic bottles. The second prong is through public education and an advertising campaign, if you will, which is to just heighten the awareness of how important it is that we make this effort to recycle plastic. And the third leg is through monetization, that we want to create a small business for individuals who might otherwise be unemployed to go around and collect plastic bottles, take it to one of our redemption centers or recycling depots, and get paid for bulk plastic that they bring to those centers.
What happens to plastic bottles that you collect?
Those are sent to the actual recycling facility. At the recycling facility, they are taken out of the bale, cleaned, shredded, flaked, so they become tiny particles. That is again cleaned, and that makes the plastic able to be sent to manufacturers that can actually reuse the plastic for new products.
As I understand, the recycling now happens in different countries, not in Jamaica. So which countries do you send the plastic to?
So currently, we send our bale plastic to Costa Rica, and that's where the recycling factories are. They pay us for the plastic that we send to them.
Why is there no recycling facilities in Jamaica right now?
Well, one of the problems is scale, that to make a recycling facility economical and commercially viable, it needs a lot of plastic. And we simply weren't collecting a sufficient amount of plastic to make that scale worthwhile. But now that Recycling Partners of Jamaica has set itself up and is increasing its collections, we've increased our collection rate by 3 times over the last 18 months, that we are now getting to the scale where it makes sense to set up such a facility.
Okay, so initially there was just not enough plastic coming in?
Just not enough plastic to make it viable.
As most relatively small island countries, Jamaica doesn't have any factories to deal with solid waste. For instance, to burn it to produce energy, like some countries do. Burning waste to energy presents its own problems because not everything is safe to burn, and more importantly, the resources we have on this planet are limited. So of course, recycling and reusing is the best solution so far. However, currently Jamaica doesn't have any recycling factories either. In fact, until recently, the only option we had was landfills. So even if you had separated all your plastic, there was just nowhere to take it. All of these changes we're now talking about and see happening in Jamaica are the result of the work in the last 10 years or even less. And it's jointly done by Jamaican scientists, Jamaican government, private companies,
and a lot of volunteers, just individuals who don't want their beloved island to be turned into this plastic wasteland.
From the 1st of January 2019, the government of Jamaica imposed a ban on the import, manufacture, distribution and use of all single-use plastic bags, styrofoam food containers and plastic straws. This ban has its own issues, but the overall effect of it is certainly positive for the environment. During the recent years, various recycling initiatives have been launched in Jamaica, including the Recycling Partners of Jamaica. They started campaigns how to manage plastic. Beach cleanups are now organized regularly. And of course, the deposit refund scheme is on the way to pay people for the plastic they bring.
You see, the major problem with plastic recycling is not the recycling process itself, and it's not even the money needed for it. The biggest challenge is the collecting.
There are a total of 8 disposal sites across Jamaica, and this is where all the garbage is taken by official trucks run by National Solid Waste Management Authority. It is a government organization responsible for collecting and handling solid waste on the island. There are also private companies that manage solid waste, but again, all of it ends up at these disposal sites. If you don't separate your plastic and simply throw it away with all the other trash, it will come right here. And what happens to it afterwards?
Nothing. And it's not only a problem in Jamaica. Landfills in every country, and while a lot of this waste would degrade with time, plastic just stays there, in theory. In practice, it can be even worse, because plastic bottles often find a way out. They get washed off by heavy rain, the wind can pick them up, birds can come and pick them up. One way or the other, these bottles find their way out of landfill into our rivers, and then the rivers take them right to the sea. So even if you're trying to be a responsible citizen who would never toss a plastic bottle into the gully or do something else outrageous like this, let's say you put trash into a regular trash bin. Even then, if you don't separate your plastic, it will end up in a landfill. And the chances are it's going to make its way back to your beach. Then you go into the beach, you see all this plastic and you go, oh, those terrible people trashing my beautiful Jamaica. Why can't they just throw trash in the bins like I do? Without realizing that one of those plastic bottles might as well be yours. That's why we need to separate plastic and get it out of the waste stream so it doesn't go into landfills.
This dump is about 100 years or more. It's been a long time now. The dump is very high. It's higher than the bridge. It's higher than the community. Wherever you go in the community, you can see the dump. And our recycling has made a change within the community. It has provided jobs. It has made the landfill less and safer because, you know, a dump is a man-made volcano which can explode at any time. And since recently we had some fire, and we were so glad that we were doing recycling to prevent more damage, and it probably could have cost lives. I'm Shantonia Williams. I'm from St.Thomas, Bamber River, and I do recycling for a life. First of all, I have a team, and my team and I, we've been dedicated to the work. And I have to give thanks to Miss Jacob because she has been my mentor, and God who has given me the strength and life to carry out this duty. And you know, it has been a great change to my community because there's a dump nearby. So what I do, because I realize there's a lot of plastic bottles everywhere, but it's not everywhere like how it would be at the dump. So I do my operation by the dump, where there's a lot of plastic bottles, and it just goes on and on, it never stops. And we work in the morning, in the rain, in the sun, and that's how we dedicate ourselves. And that's how I am the third highest in Jamaica.
Well done, sir. Yeah, man. What motivates you to, make this effort?
And I appreciate everyone at the factory They have also been good friends and family to me. And I hope that next time I'll be #1.
That's wonderful.
What can you advise other Jamaicans?
Well, I'd advise other Jamaicans, don't dirty up Jamaica, put plastic in its respective place. There's money in the business. All who don't have a job, you can try out the recycling and see where it takes you.
If you have a small number of bottles, we are going to be setting up bins, recycling bins, in as many public locations as possible. Just like how you see trash bins in public places, we're now going to be setting up recycling bins in public places so that when you go to the shop and you buy your drink and you have had your drink, then you know to put that in the recycling bin instead of into the trash bin.
But what about receiving deposit for it?
We are not at the stage yet where you can get a deposit for 1 or 2 or 3 bottles. We're only giving return deposits for people who bring in a large amount. But this allows somebody to make a small business of it. If you want to deliver bottles to us directly, then you accumulate roughly 7 to 8 kilograms, and then you bring it to one of our redemption centers or recycling depots, and you are going to get paid for those. Top recorder, 4th highest. That's a whole lot of collection right there. Very well done.
Thank you.
Absolutely proud of you. And I'm telling you something, when I talk to people who are happy with the effort we're making, you know, people like you are at the top of that heap.
Yeah, it's very good, and I think we can do more, much more.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
So my name is Peter Gay Pinnock, and I'm from St.Thomas, Port Morant exactly. So recycling is my hobby. So I'm actually a sales rep. That's my 9 to 5.
Why did you pick up this kind of hobby?
And I started first at home. So when I'm using the plastics, I usually can't put it in the trash. So I find a way to repurpose or just put it in a container and hopefully, you know, find a way to get it back. So RPJ started that avenue where I would just collect them using friends and family at first, and then I extended it to the community where there are persons within the community that need funds. Sometimes I take it from them and then give them a little bit extra, right? So at least they can put food on their table, basically. So for me, it's just a hobby, but for them, it's an avenue that they can get a little resource.
All right, that was my next question, because you know you actually need to collect so many kilograms before you can bring. So if you can explain that.
So for them, they haven't reached the threshold to be able to be a actual person. So I now will try and facilitate that bit. So it's around 70 kilos that they will have to collect. So plastic bottle in itself is about 13 bottles per pound. So 13 plastic of the regular pint size makes a pound, which looks a lot. And then with that pound now, it's what, $50 I think per kilogram. So you see that the money really isn't there. But then a little adds up when I'm encouraging them to, you know what, keep it so that you can bring it in, and then I can in turn subsidize and give you back something.
Have you noticed much change in your community after you've started getting all these bottles?
I would say yes, because now they actually have an avenue, and I have some persons that they will collect, they literally go out and collect and then bring it in, ask me to come and collect it, and then I just advance them. Sometimes I advance them.
How do you manage to bring them here?
Well, what I do is I have a central point. So if you notice this white bag, so when it's full, I'll call Mrs. Jacobs and then ask her to come and collect or arrange pickup.
So how do you feel about getting the award?
Oh, at first I was surprised, because initially I never knew what I was doing, you know, that would have made such a great impact. So seeing that I've got this now, and I do see that there's more in there. There's more places to reach. I mean, the schools are hopeful that they're going to be open soon, and that in itself is another market. So, yeah, we just encourage persons to just reuse, recycle.
RPJ is funded by a levy on the manufacturers of the drinks and cleaning supplies that use the bottles. So we levy $1 per bottle on them for every bottle they produce. They give that to us. We use it to fund all of this collection and then to refund those who bring the empty bottles back to us.
So this amount of money is enough to run the facility, to pay the employees and to also give the refund?
For now. Ultimately, as we get more and more bottles in, that deposit is going to have to increase. Well, you see, what we did was we levied the $1 on the manufacturers before we increased the amount we pay back for the bottles to $1, so we could accumulate enough funding to be able to start the process.
Can we also do the same thing they have in supermarkets, like in the United States, when you just come out, you put them there and you just pay per bottle? You know, like they drop the bottle in there?
We ultimately hope to have a system where you can get paid on a 1 or 2 bottle basis, but we are rolling out the system slowly, so that's still a ways off. The main thing we are trying to accomplish is to keep the bottles out of the waste stream, to not have people throw them in the gullies, throw them in the rivers, put them in the regular garbage where they end up in the landfill, because not separating it is what causes the environmental damage. That is how it gets into clogging up the gullies, washing up on the beaches, being ingested by fish, and ultimately ending up in your body. That is the problem. So the main point is to get people to separate their plastics and keep it out of the waste stream.
You don't have to participate in any beach cleanups if you don't want to, or do something extra. All we need is just a little box at home where you can keep the used plastic bottles. And that's it. Then, when you're going to work or to do some shopping, take the little bag with these bottles with you and leave at the recycling point. That's it. Easy.
When I arrived at this facility this morning, I went and introduced myself to the gentleman who's doing the baling today. His name is Daniel Walker. Daniel thanked me on behalf of the organization for the work that Recycling Partners of Jamaica is doing. On his own, Daniel said to me that if we don't make this effort, then we are the ones that are saying it's okay for us to be destroying our own beaches. And he was happy to be a part of an effort that is not only creating a cleaner environment for ourselves, but for generations after us. That's the best thanks I could have gotten.
Of course, the scale of the plastic problem is way beyond Jamaica as a country. It's a major global effort, and it's difficult to get everyone involved into recycling. But to take care of your own plastic is actually very easy. It's just that people have these everyday things, going to work, taking kids to school. We don't sit around thinking, oh, what to do with plastic. But we don't have to either. It should just become part of our life, you know, our habit, like brushing the teeth in the morning. We don't think about it, we just do it. The hardest part for me was actually finding the convenient recycling point in the first place. And for those people who are not really aware of the recycling practices, won't be looking for it and won't pay attention even if they see one. So I thought, okay, I personally don't have millions of dollars to invest into fighting plastic, and I don't really have the time to devote to this fully. But I have this platform, and a lot of people passionate about Jamaica are watching my videos. So here's what we can do. I've counted 769 communities in Jamaica. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but I'd like to find at least one volunteer per community for the following tasks. Cooperate with organizing and monitoring drop-off points, like the bins and cages, taking into account the specifics of each community. Most likely your community already has them, but the goal is to make sure that every person in your community is aware of their location and they're separating plastics and bringing the bottles there. And the other thing, as Dr. King mentioned, now recycling partners are giving the refund for larger quantities of bottles, which means there is a small business opportunity for those who can invest their time into this. Helping to find these people in your community is what we need. Would you like to help with any of these things for your community in Jamaica? Or can generally volunteer a little bit of your time if you live in a different country? Let's do it.
I've added a designated page to my website. Please go to irilab.com/recycling and fill out the form there to apply. Make sure to write the name of your community, and if you live abroad, just specify the community you wish to help, like the one where you have your relatives or close friends.
Is it going to work? I don't know. Let's try and see. In any case, what you can surely do right now is you can share this video so more people can learn about recycling plastic in Jamaica and become a part of the solution. You can also give a like and leave a comment so that YouTube algorithm will understand that this video is important and will recommend it to others. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Thank you so much for watching, and the special thanks are always to our patrons. They are the sponsors of our work, and without them, this video wouldn't have been possible. If you also wish to join them and add your contribution to this project financially, you can do so from only $5 per month. My name is Irina, and many more important videos are coming up soon, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.